Hey, what's up guys, it's Theo from Fino Concept, and this is a Canon 24mm f2.8 lens, but is it any good? Well, let's find out. Alright, before we dive into the review or I even waste your time, I want to clearly state that if you are on the newer version of the Canon lenses like the RP, the R5, most especially those, and also if you are on a full frame sensor like the Canon 6D Mark II, the 5D Mark IV, all of those, then this isn't the lens for you. This is for EFS mount only. So I'm talking about the older versions of Canon like the Canon 600D, which I'm using to record right now, the 77D and all of those stuff. Any of the crop sensor cameras with an EFS mount, this lens is going to work on them flawlessly. So let's quickly talk about a few things. By the way, if you are wondering why I have dressed so neatly, it's because I'm in school at the moment. This is where I teach. So those of you who are not actually aware of that, well, there you go. So I was initially using the 50mm f1.8, and I'm standing at the exact position, and you can see how wide it is. So if you want a wider lens, then I'm pretty sure that this is the one to go for. You can also go for the 35mm f1.8, but that is not going to give you a wider shot like this, even though you're getting a much wider aperture. Like I've stated already, this is an EFS lens system indicated by this white square here. Whilst on the EF lens system, we have a red circle. So just looking at the lens, you may or may not realize how similar it is to the Canon 14mm f2.8 for EF lens system. Now that lens is strictly for the full frame sensors only, and it's also called the pancake lens for a reason. On the sides, we have the auto and manual focus switch right next to the Canon branding, and similarly next to it is the white square mounting indicator I was referring to earlier. It has a minimal focusing distance of 0.16 meters or 0.52 feet as indicated here. At the top, just taking the lens cover off exposes the lens. Keep in mind though that if you want to use ND filters, be sure to get the 52mm. The bottom has this metallic lens mount and these 4 screws to get rid of in case you want to go a little bit crazy on the internals. Now the lens mount has some strong resistance to it, which is cool, and as you can clearly see, that mine has taken quite a beating over the year of usage. The lens with the lens mount on has at least fallen about 3 times. Those are the only ones I can recall, but even up to date it still holds up with no issues at all. The focusing ring has this great feel, which I love. It makes the ring much grippier and steady when turning, but more on focusing later in this video. Comparing this to the famous 50mm f1.8 lens, the glass on this is super small but has a maximum aperture of f1.8 and a wide view of 24mm, in case you didn't already get that in the name. Honestly though, you are not getting the exact 24mm field of view because it is for crop sensor cameras. You are getting around 38.4mm, but for the kind of things I want to use it for and what I use it for, I think it's wide enough. Now let's talk about photo and video quality. Over the couple of months, I've taken pictures of some fake plants, Paul's MacBook, some trees outdoor, a couple of buildings, some portraits, pictures of the sky, and some indoor shots as well. Now mind you, all these images that I'm showing on the screen right now are actually straight out of the camera. No editing or whatsoever has been added to it. And I've even used this lens during engagements and weddings when I want a wide shot, or when there are a lot of people gathering for a group shot, then I always switch to this lens. In terms of video quality, it lacks OIS or optical image stabilization, so try as much as possible to keep your hands still. The focusing motor is super silent on manual, but once you switch to auto, you hear the sounds. It's also not super fast when it comes to focusing in live view mode, but I don't know whether that is a problem or a limitation for the camera or the lens. So yeah. So for indoor shots, here's how it looks comparing it with the Canon 18 to 55mm kit lens. Alright, so just out of context, here's how it looks like on the Canon kit lens, that is the 18 to 55 f3.5 to 5.6. I've set it to the widest aperture at the moment, which is 4.0, and the millimeter is 24. So I'll be switching to the 24mm f2.8 so that you get a better understanding of how different it looks like. Alright, so now we are on the 24mm f2.8, and this is what it looks like. You can see that we have a much nicer shallow depth of field. It's not as much as I would want, but f2.8 is okay. And also listen to how the motor sounds like. Here's how it sounds like when focusing. And you can see it does a pretty decent job, even though it is not super fast like the 50mm f1.8. But I prefer this one. This is also cool. So why did I decide to get this lens? Well, I realized that with my kit lens, even though it is wide enough, I wasn't getting that shallow depth of field or how bright the images were going to be with the smaller aperture, so I definitely needed an upgrade. So upon deciding on that, the first lens I wanted to get was the Yongnuo 35mm f2.0, but it wasn't as wide as I wanted it to be. And the second thing is, I've actually used Yongnuo lenses before and I didn't like it as much. I actually compared the Yongnuo 50mm f1.8 with the Canon's version, and up to date it is still my most viewed video. So if you are also interested in that, you can check it up in the cards up here or down in the description below. So I went back online and I realized that this lens was actually available, so I decided to buy one for myself. And I love the fact that it's super slim, small and compact, weighing in around 125 grams. I can easily put it in my pocket. And I'm not even joking here. When I'm shooting weddings or engagements, I literally have this in my back pocket, ready to switch to it at any point in time. And I also love the fact that it is a wider aperture at f2.8, even though I'm not actually going to be shooting portraits with it, but having that wide aperture is a nice thing. And finally, the distortion isn't as drastic that your photo editing software cannot actually correct. So when it comes to the couple of things I don't like, well, there's this heavy vignetting over at the corners of the video or your images every time you are using this lens, and also the distortion. Even though I just stated that your photo editing software will be able to correct this, that is something extra you have to do every single time, and that is quite annoying. So anywhere between 900 Ghana cedis and 1200 Ghana cedis is this lens for you. Likely for me, I got it for 700 Ghana cedis from a second-hand dealer, but even with that, I still think that is a better deal. It has served me well and I don't see myself switching any moment from now, unless I get a zoom lens obviously. But as at now, this is what I'm going to be using for all my YouTube videos. So yeah, I recommend getting this one. I wish there was an EF1 so that you can use it on both crop sensor cameras and full frames, but this is the only one I can find. That's an unfortunate thing. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel and our other channels, which I have them linked below. And as always, don't forget to share with your family and friends. This is Theo from Fino Concept, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.
Is my hair okay? No, like, just looking at me, is my hair okay?
Hey, what's up guys? It's Theo from Fino Concept. So, I should have